Welcome to the 6th Annual Soilcraft Conference. Join us as we listen to world-class speakers in the space of regenerative agriculture, as well as human health. We grow food. Food should nourish us, and often we find that our modern food is laden with unwanted synthetics or void of the minerals and vitamins we need to thrive. We endeavor to host this conference for your inspiration and education. Our calling is to help you produce food that heals people and our planet. Join us in this journey to become better stewards of our bodies and the world we abide in.
What is that word all at once? Wrong. It begins with the seed. It always begins with the seed. Always. The major problem starts with the seed. Soil's coming, but it's not there yet. If you are dealing with a seed problem, this is the beginning of your problems with Brix. Well, I really don't understand this, Tom. Can you describe this to me in a slightly different way? I was like, okay, all right, I'd be happy to do that. If I am ugly, and my wife is ugly, what do you think the chances are that our 8 children are going to be ugly? You're thinking there's going to be a pretty good chance of that, I'm thinking. Why? Because the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. That's why. You put ugly and ugly together, you get ugly. This is how it works. And so you understand enough about genetics to say, I see the truth of what you were saying. Some of you might argue, especially if you have a scientific background, well, it's not mandatory. I mean, you could have a mutant child that comes out that is actually attractive. And I say, absolutely true. We could have an accident. Most of the children would be ugly, and oh boy, we've got a good-looking child. How did this happen? I understand about mutations. I understand this can happen. But for the most part, we understand that an ugly mom and an ugly dad is probably going to give you ugly kids. That's why it starts with the seed. That's why it starts with the seed. I want to know a little bit more about the seeds. Where can we go with this? Well, I just got finished telling you we've got 80% crops, 2 to 10, 80% of plants that are not crops in there, and we've got seed constituents. What is in the seed? Well, there's a lot. There's a lot of sugars in there. We've got calcium, we've got potassium, magnesium, phosphorus, sulfur. In short, we have everything. Everything is in the seed. Unless it's not. And why would something not be in the seed when you have ugly parents? If you have ugly parents, not everything gets in the seed. So if you are starting with a bad seed, how far do you think you're going to be able to go with that seed? There's only so far you can go. Sure, you can train to be an Olympic champion in the 100-meter dash, but look at me. Does anybody in this room think that with enough training, I could make it to the Olympics in the 100-meter dash? I know what you're all thinking. Absolutely effing not. Again, this is a family show, so I caught myself right there. And the reason why is because you know this cannot be done. You look, you see an old man up here. You realize, wow, he's got a lot of kids. He's too tired. He can't do it. You also see other things about me that say, no, he cannot do this. Some of you are being very nice right now by not saying out loud what those things are. But you know they're there, and I know they're there. So when you have a bad seed and you come up to me with your 5.9 Brix plant and tell me, how do I get it up to 14? And I would say, how soon do you want me to do this? And I'm thinking, next week? I'm like, no, I can't do that. You're behind the 8 ball already, starting with the seed. The seed is the most important thing. Why? Because it's first. That's why it's the most important thing. So we have seeds that are compromised. Where do we get all of our seeds? We get them from low Brix plants. All of the seeds, corn seeds, soybean seeds, any type of seed, vegetable seed, you're going to be getting it from a crop between 2 to 10. Ugly begets ugly. So do you think the seeds are going to be top-level seeds, something that you can get up to 14, 15, or 16? Probably not. Possible, but probably not. Probably not. And so we've got seeds coming from the rest, and those are all relatively healthy. Most of the seeds that come from these other plants that are out there are doing quite good. They're never absolutely perfect. There's a little bit of issues. But if you are looking for a healthy seed, what constitutes a healthy seed? Is there some number that we can put to this? And I would say there are a few numbers we could put to it. The first one is the emergence rate. Well, what should it be? The plant's not going to go through all the trouble of making a seed unless it thinks that it's going to sprout. Meaning, your emergence rates should be between 95 to 99%. And this is included on the bags. The seed bag will tell you what the emergence rate is. How many of you, rhetorical question, how many of you see 95 to 99% emergence rates? Woo! I felt that thing coming out of the ear. Going to do my best to get it back in. All right, I think I'm good right now, but it may pop out again, so forgive me if that does happen. All right. 95 to 99% is what you should be looking for, but we don't see it on the vast majority of our seeds. Some of you say, well, it's pretty good. I got 92 or 90. Is that really enough? Is that really enough? 10% of the seeds that you buy are never going to sprout? Wow, I actually think that's pretty bad, as a matter of fact. You may think 90 is good. It's an A, but it's not good enough. And so if 10% of your seeds are not coming out, you're paying a certain amount of money, and you're losing 10%. But is it really just 10%? Oh no. It's much worse than that. Unhealthy seeds have much lower emergence rates. The worst I've heard, 40% emergence rates. Because I've talked to many farmers, and this is the lowest story that I have ever heard. 40% emergence rate. Paid for the seed bag, over half of them never even emerged. Do you think that the 40% that did emerge are healthy? Absolutely not. You know it's a bad batch. So the 40% that did emerge are not going to be giving you the result that you want. What is the result? Well, they should sprout, they should look good, they should be green, they should give me the yield. This is what I want as a farmer, because that makes me money. Money's a good thing. It's not an evil thing. It's something that you need in order to raise your family. I've got a lot of mouths to feed. We all need that. I get it. I'm trying to get you more money. I'm trying to get you in tune with what you need to do, and that's why we're starting with the seed. Because when we're dealing with an unhealthy seed, we're in trouble right from the get-go. Healthy seed will contain all of the necessary micronutrients and all of the necessary enzymes needed for early growth, meaning it doesn't need to be in the soil. However, we are often treating in the furrow when we put seeds down. Why? Because instinctively we know the seeds are not as healthy as they should be. And that's why we're putting nutrients into the seeds, why we want them to get a good early start. The good early start should be irrelevant to you. That's the seed's problem. The seed takes care of that early growth. When the root goes down, this comes up, the first two cotyledonous leaves come out, it's all about the seed, nothing else. After that point, then the soil will become more of a factor. All right, so it begins with the seed and it follows with the soil. And I'm sorry for making fun of all you right now, but I really, really enjoyed that reaction from you. So yes, the soil is important. Do not ignore the seed, but now let's move into the soil right now and talk a little bit about some of the problems that we're having in soil to explain the 2 to 10 Brix levels that we're getting. Types of soil. You all know what this is. We've got sand, silt, clay, and loam, and we have 1,000 different variations of these major 4. So I get that. Everyone kind of knows sandy soil. It doesn't have a lot of organic matter. I get that too, but we still have plants. We still got palm trees growing in Miami in sandy soil, so we realize that it can be done. There are plants that can handle this. There are some that like clay better, some that might like sand, a little bit in between, so we understand the importance of soil. I probably don't need to belabor this point that much. We also understand that all of these have to do with different size particles too, and so this has to do with, people often talk about water penetration. This is important as far as water penetration. But what's important as far as keeping that water in there? Well, that's all about the microbes. The microbes will be able to hold on to the water much better than the soil. So you can talk until you're blue in the face to me about how important the soil is for water retention. But I'm going to tell you, if you've got the microbes in there, they're the ones that are retaining the water because they will take a little bit of a sip, and that's going to be a lot less than a drop of water. But you're going to have, 20 to 100 million of them in a spoonful. And that sip is called water retention. So the microbes can offer more to that than actually the type of soil.
We all know healthy plants begin with healthy soil. At Soilcraft, we use soil vigor to feed the living soil community, building microbial life that protects roots and strengthens growth. Because when roots are weak, Brix falls. But when the soil thrives, the whole plant flourishes.
But there's also rock. There's also rock. Why would I bring up rock? It's like, well, you're talking about rock dust, putting rock dust out. You're talking about, where are you going with this? I'm talking about rock. Why rock? Source of minerals. That is the source of minerals. Minerals are not coming from the air to any great degree. And they're actually not coming up through the soil to any great degree. They need the microbes in order to do that. And oftentimes they will need to find a rock. If you've ever seen a rock underneath the ground, when roots find it, they will wrap around it because they need those minerals. There's a lot of mineral deficiency going on. So, lithophytes are plants that grow in or on rocks. They survive on a diet of sunlight, rainwater, and the minerals they extract from the rocks they inhabit. Well, this is possibly news for you. You've maybe never heard of the fact that plants can grow without soil because you've always been conditioned to think that the soil is the most important thing. I hope you learned after this presentation that it's not. It does start with the seed, but you can actually grow plants without soil. So here's a rock, wrapped its roots, it's completely exposed, and this tree is tough. It is a well-mineralized tree. It's going to be high Brix. Nothing is going to attack it. There's going to be no fungus, no insect infections, but it's around a rock. We have trees that grow out of the sides of cliffs with no soil to speak of. I've actually heard scientists say, yeah, well, we did find a spoonful of soil in a little crevice right there, and a root was going in there, so we think that was actually the reason why it was growing out of the side of a rock is because of that spoonful of soil that we had. I'm like, really? Do you hear what you're saying? Is this really making sense? And so here are some more examples of trees growing out of pure rock. So minerals are important. If you didn't think they were important before, those last 3 slides should tell you how important this is. So soil needs to be composed of rock. You need to have rock dust. You need to have rocks in the soil. And if you don't, you're going to have to start adding those minerals in order to get a healthy plant, a higher Brix plant. So in the soil, we've got the different types of soil that we have up there, but we also have lots of microorganisms in there. I mentioned how important it is for water retention. We also have many different pluses, the nematodes, microarthropods, earthworms, in addition to the bacteria and the fungi, the mycorrhizal fungi that you're all familiar with. All of this is important. It's all in the soil, and all of this contributes to a healthy, high Brix plant. The soil nutrients, I've got them listed right there. It's essentially just all of them. All of them are necessary. A plant needs all of them in order to be high Brix. If you are deficient in one, and you supply that one micronutrient that it doesn't have, it takes off. Looks fantastic. Brix levels go up 2 Brix or more, sometimes more. Why? Because it's deficient in it. Not because it's a miracle, it's just deficient in it. Scurvy. Scurvy was had by sailors when they crossed the sea. They were dying. What were they dying of? They were dying of the lack of vitamin C. So they were simply giving them oranges for the trip from the New World to Old World, and suddenly scurvy stopped. Oranges? That was a miracle drug, some would say. No, it's not. It's just a fruit on a tree. But because there was a deficiency, that's why it saved their life. And that's why we have those micronutrients, because when we are deficient in just one, although we're usually deficient in more than one, you are going to get a low Brix. I've talked about this before. The good doctor was talking about it earlier on. These are cofactors. If you want the enzymes to do their job, they need cofactors, and the cofactors are the minerals. And these minerals need to be there. If we're short in one, it needs to be supplied. Oftentimes that can be supplied by rocks or rock dust. What contributes to lowering leaf Brix? Insecticides, fungicides, and herbicides. Spray one, measure the Brix before you do it, measure the Brix after you do it, and the Brix goes down. That's why I'm saying it. Are you thinking I'm some oh, well, you're just an organic hippie who is wearing Birkenstock sandals right now and Lennon specs, and therefore that's why you're saying this? No, I'm not. I'm saying this because it's true. These are a legitimate problem. And when you are spraying this stuff, you're killing the microbes, and therefore your Brix goes down. We can't afford to kill them. They're doing a fantastic job of killing the microbes in the soil. Each one has its specialty. Each one has its group of microorganisms that it will take out. And then we've got insecticides too, which are also taking out microbes. Different microbes. The OPs are going to take out different microbes than the neonics, but they're all doing a good job of getting this done. The result? Lower Brix. High salt fertilizers. I've talked about this before. How important is this? Well, duh, salt. Do you really want to be putting salt on your fields? That's the NPK. Those are the classic NPK fertilizers with the 3 numbers right there. You don't want to be doing that. We know that this is bad. When we put salts out through the process of plasmolysis, I just throw out these big words every once in a while just to make you think that I'm actually smarter than I actually am. Water can be drawn out of the microbes and it can kill them outright. Plasmolysis also works on roots and extracts water from them. It can kill them as well. Salt is bad, but we were putting too much of it down. In case you were wondering, well, how long have we known about the salt? Well, we've known it for about 3,000 years. There's a Bible passage which talks about when you take out your enemy, you spread salt over their fields. They did that because they knew that the salt was going to make it impossible for your enemy to grow plants and build up their population again. And then in 20 to 30 years, come back and kick your ASS. That's why they put the salt out. Okay? So that was 1,000 years before. So that's 3,000 years ago. We've known about this for 3,000 years. And yet we continue to put our high salt fertilizers on year after year after year. The high salt index fertilizers are a problem. NPK fertilizers, this is really what they are. The over-application of fertilizers is happening right now. It can overcome biology. Fresh manures, as I've talked about before, is a problem. Those that are not composted, very high in salt. Salt-based poisons, those are all the pesticides because they're all stabilized by salts, mostly sodium. Big problem as well. And then we have irrigated water in some areas because the salt gets down into the water. We pull it up through an irrigation system and spread the salt water all over our crops, lowering the Brix. GMO plants. There are a few things that get me in more trouble than this, but I'm going to move ahead because you need to know. GMO plants are notoriously low Brix. I cannot get high Brix from them. Of course, they're usually going to be between 2 to 10. And so that's obvious. They're all going to be 10 and below. But when I say low Brix, I'm often talking lower than 10. Because the GMO soybeans that I talked about before, you may remember, are running between 3 to 5. So when you're dealing with a GMO product, we are dealing with a product that is in trouble. It's the seed. It's a bad seed. And there's not much you can do about that. Now, in addition, they also throw some things at it which complicate the issue and can lower the Brix too. Yes?
We're so glad you enjoyed this installment from our in-person conference. We want this to reach as many people as possible, so we've decided to release this free to you bit by bit every month. But imagine how awesome it would be in person. The networking, questions, and discussions that result are equally as valuable. Join us next year in person for our 2026 conference. Your presence makes the experience. If you have any questions or needs, please reach out. Call, email, follow. We can help.